You guys, I'm trying so hard to do these reviews for Cheese in the Trap, but there's so much to talk about, and every time I feel like I've done a decent job talking about one thing, there's 1,000 things that I forget. So if you could please do me a favor, if you watch this video and there's anything I don't discuss or anything you want to talk about or anything you want to hear, please leave it in the comment section down below, because I live for the comment section. It's just one of my favorite things in the world, but also because I don't want you guys to think that I don't pay attention to the show or that things don't mean much to me that happen in the show. It's just that in order for me to address everything that happens in this couple of episodes, it would take me 2 hours to do it. And that's as long as the show is. So I don't want to do that to you guys. I don't want to waste your time. But I take copious notes about every single episode. So it's not like I'm not paying attention. I really am. It's just really hard to squeeze all of that information into the amount of time that I'm trying to put these videos in. I really hate for these videos to get any longer than 25 minutes. And if I could, I would prefer for these videos to be about 10 to 15 minutes. But anyway, big things happened in these episodes. We finally got rid of Young Goon, and in the best possible way, by insulting him in public, tarnishing his name, and making it to where he can't even get revenge because there's too much blackmail information on him. He managed to get beat up, maced, dumped, and disrespected by his entire class. So yeah, we finally got rid of him, and thank goodness, because he had gotten into a really scary mode. Like, he was threatening to kill people and, threatening to hit people. He'd gotten out of control. So I'm really glad to see him gone. In the set of episodes, we also had Hong Sul and her family dynamic question. In the very beginning of the show, Hong Sul's dad just really didn't see it for her and her education. But then in this set of episodes, her brother June, it is revealed, has quit school in the United States and does not intend to go back. And the dad is like, not only are you going to go back and stay in the United States until you graduate, but we're going to pull Hong Sul out of school to come up with the money to keep you in school in the United States. And of course, Hong Sul's really not meant to hear this conversation. Instead, it was just, I guess, meant to be told to her that this is what we're going to do, deal with it. But Hong Sul had been dealing with it. This wasn't the first time that Hong Sul had to compromise herself in the interest of her brother or her family. She had to leave her apartment so that she could get her key money back, so that she could help her parents with the noodle restaurant, help get her brother back to the United States, and pay for her schooling. So, she's dealing with a 4-hour commute every day just so she can continue to get her education. She's working odd jobs to be able to save the money to be able to pay for her tuition when she can't get a scholarship. She's really doing everything she can to keep herself in school, to get her education so that she can work, and for her parents to be like, oh, well, she could take a year off. It is like the ultimate disrespect, because it's like they don't acknowledge how hard she's been working and what all she's done to get to the point in life that she is at this moment. And then her dad says something which is very indicative of the way she's seen. He says, well, your brother needs to go to school because one day he's going to be supporting me and your mother, but you're going to get married. And, that is kind of the way that society sees its girls. When you're a woman and you're a mother, you kind of get back some of your dignity, it seems. But when you're a girl, you're seen as temporary property. Like, you're only mine until a man comes along and claims you and makes you part of his possessions, family, land, whatever. And for Hong Sul to stand up for her right as a person, she says to her dad, am I not still your daughter? Yeah, I might one day go out and get married, but until that time, I'm your child. Don't you want me to have an education for me? Not for what it will do for you, but for me, because you want me to have something for myself. And I thought that was beautiful. Also, she confronted her mom with the fact that, just because you have such a hard time with dad and you're having to grin and bear it, why do you automatically look at me like I have to do it too? I've given so much, and you can't even open your mouth to defend me to him in the light of everything I've done to try to help out this family. And so she runs off, and I remember thinking, I cried when the confrontation, I cried when the confrontation happened. But I remember thinking, yeah, girl, tell him. Now, later on, they resolved the whole thing by Bacon revealing that the dad has been passing out flyers all along, and, he's really not that big of a jerk, and mom says, I'm sorry, I just get so frustrated sometimes. But, still, it needed to happen, and they needed to be kind of scared straight into knowing that, she is just as important a member of this family as anybody else. And you can't just trod on her and her efforts because it doesn't match what the rest of the family maybe thinks that they could do with Hong Sul's resources. With her fight with the family, that causes her to get a little bit closer to Yu Jung, because when she tries to call Bora doesn't answer, but Yu Jung shows up and they hug and she cries and she ends up spending the night with him. They share a few kisses and supposedly they're back on. But they're not completely on, because she still needs to kind of confront him about the whole Young Goon thing, kind of about his failure to really be emotionally honest with her, and kind of the fact that he's such a closed book. Because the thing that he does, which would be a killer to any relationship, is that when he sees himself having a problem with Hong Sul, rather than confront her about it, or even not confront, because a confront sounds aggressive, rather than confide in Hong Sul about his doubts or his questions or his concerns, instead he goes over it in his own mind when he's away from her, and then makes judgment calls without really consulting her about these judgment calls. And sometimes what he does is for her own good, like the whole Young Goon thing. That really did help her out. But then there's times when he's made things awkward with her, like what he did with Min Soo and what he did with the teaching assistant. And she does something that really is even better than what I would do, because I would have gone ahead and broken up with him. I'd be like, it's over. But instead, she is really mature, and Hong Sul goes to him and says, listen, you want to know what I'm doing with Baekino? This is what I'm doing with Baekino. You want to know what's going on with Young Goon? This is what's going on with Young Goon, and this is why I didn't want to tell you. Now, I want you to be honest with me. Just tell me what's on your mind. He can't really make that emotional leap. But I thought it was really mature of her, rather than go in there and be accusatory or angry like maybe I would be. Instead, she tries to let him know, this relationship is important to me and is important enough for me to want you to be honest with me so we can continue this relationship. This is what I need in order for us to move forward. That, Yu Jung, it scares him. Even when she tells him what the truth is, even when she says, I know you're avoiding my calls because you're mad at me. I know you're worried about my relationship with Baekino. I know you're this and I know you're that. She reads him like a book at that point, but he still isn't comfortable about revealing himself to her. And it isn't until the end of episode 12 when he finally does open up to her and lets her know, the reason why I don't want to reveal myself to you is because initially I didn't really care for you, but now I'm afraid of you not caring for me. And I thought that was really great that they got to that point. I still kind of don't see it for the relationship between Hong Sul and Yu Jung. They've tried to show them being cute together, and some of the moments between them are very cute, but I still don't see kind of what it is about Yu Jung that keeps Hong Sul hanging on. Like, I don't know if it's because of a promise of comfort. Like, maybe she's telling herself, if we could just get on the same page, we could have a great relationship and my life could be good with him. Or if there's something else about him that she needs that we're not seeing. Because honestly, the character that I feel gives her the most emotional growth and who actually provides for her the most is Baekino. Yes, he is a ball of nerves. Like, he is one raw nerve walking down the street. And he can't hold anything inside. I mean, he's an open book. But at the same time, I just feel like he's more real. And I feel like they could have a relationship that she could roll into and it could just snowball into something wonderful. Whereas I feel like she keeps knocking her head against a concrete wall trying to be with Yu Jung, because he keeps putting up all these walls for her. And I just don't see the appeal. I don't know what it is on the other side of that wall that she sees that she's trying so hard to get to. When with Baekino, she can see him. There's nothing blocking her from who he really is. And I think that they could be wonderful together. I still feel that way. Like, I have the strongest of second lead syndrome here. Speaking of Baekino, a lot of things going on with him. He finally realizes that his crush on Hong-sul is just not ever going to go away. He's having a hard time dealing with it, especially when she calls him Oppa. He just cannot deal. But Baekino's also having to struggle with kind of his history with Yoo Jung and what's going on with him and Hong-sul, and asking himself kind of, am I ready to have another real confrontation with Yoo Jung? And I'm glad that the flashbacks that we saw, especially the really important flashbacks, a lot of them were kind of prompted by Baekina, because she's a character that throughout the show I have been like, man, I don't like this girl. Man, I don't like this girl. But with each flashback, I feel more and more sympathy for her. And it's weird because in the flashbacks, I feel like she was a more natural character than what she became. I almost feel like time has kind of twisted her and hardened her and maybe corrupted her, because like even the way that she acts in the flashbacks is different than the way she acts in what's supposed to be present day. But anyway, I'm glad that we use her as a catalyst to get Baekho to remember kind of the way things were. And the way things were also does explain a lot about why Yoo Jung is the way he is. So we look back in time and we see, that Baekho was kind of a jackass. Like he really was very self-involved and narcissistic and kind of like, man, look at me, I'm just hot shit, and why do people even try when I'm obviously gonna win, like that kind of thing. But they did a really clever thing with the flashbacks. They showed a flashback from kind of Baekino's point of view, and then they showed a flashback from kind of Yoo Jung's behind the scenes point of view. And it looks like there's a lot of fault everywhere here. I still feel like Yoo Jung maybe took things too far. But, Baekho was not completely innocent in the whole thing. The way that he talked about Yoo Jung to Park Young-soo was not nice. Park Young-soo was the other piano student that was also trying to become friends with Yoo Jung and was kind of, I wouldn't say competition in piano with Baekho, but was, another piano student that was being sponsored by Yoo Jung's family. But when he says to the guy, oh, Yoo Jung's really pathetic because he really doesn't have a future, and, I just hang out with him because I'm the only person who can really understand him, which is kind of the same thing that Baekina said. She said a lot of the times, I'm the only one who really understands Yoo Jung. But for Yoo Jung to hear that, it kind of changes everything he felt about Baekino. And it makes you wonder if when the dad announced that he wanted to adopt the Baek siblings, if Yoo Jung would have been happy with that had he never heard what Baekho said about him. And it's weird because I don't think that Baekho called Yoo Jung pathetic or pitiful because he meant like Yoo Jung is like a loser. I think more kind of what he thought. And it kind of goes along with the lines of what the dad was thinking about Yoo Jung, is that Yoo Jung he's vulnerable. And that Baekho feels like he can help make Yoo Jung strong because he is so vulnerable. But then the dad sees Yoo Jung as vulnerable almost in an opposite sense. And this is where there's another piece of mystery here that I want to ask you guys to think about and consider and let me know about in the comment section. The dad is having a conversation with somebody, I don't know who, and he mentions that Professor Baek, who I assume is the grandfather of the Baek siblings, Professor Baek was working with Yoo Jung, and I guess had diagnosed Yoo Jung as being some way. So I'm assuming that maybe Professor Baek was a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and he was working with Yoo Jung for possibly some mental health issues or some, disorders of some sort that Yoo Jung was facing. And I'm wondering if maybe what was going on is that whereas the father, when Yoo Jung was young, maybe had some anger issues or, acting out, whatever else. And that's why the father kept telling Yoo Jung, be meek, be mild, be considerate, put others before you, because maybe he was acting out. And then he's like, well, I need to have siblings to take care of Yoo Jung. Whereas Baekho came in after all of these messages of meekness and mildness had been put on Yoo Jung. And he's like, dude, you need to stand up for yourself. You shouldn't be meek and mild to the point where people can walk all over you. And it's just such a shame. It's just such a shame because the problem that Yoo Jung has with Hong Sul is the same problem he has with Baek In Ho, is the same problem he's just having in general in life. The inability to really talk to people. I feel like before Yoo Jung got to the point where he allowed Baek In Ho to be beat up and lose his ability to play piano, before it got to that point, Yoo Jung could have told Baek In Ho, I heard what you said. I'm really mad at you, guy. How could you do this to me? Instead of doing that, he's like, I don't care about you anymore. And then shows evidence of him not caring. And when he sees Baek In Ho being beat to a pulp and then having this other piano student smash his hand, instead of like at least thinking I should call somebody, he just walks by. And I don't know, it was just heartbreaking because in the midst of Baek In Ho kind of being a jerk in the flashbacks, you can tell that Baek In Ho really loved Yoo Jung. Like, the idea of being a sibling for him was like, my dreams are coming true. Like, that was another part that really made me cry. And I cried a lot during these 2 episodes, but Baek In Ho wanting to be a sibling to Yoo Jung wasn't just about, oh, well, now I'm going to have access to the old man's money and prestige and something else. I think with Baek In Ho, he wanted that family. You know, being kind of this kid living with the Jung family, or the Yoo family, I don't know what the last name is anyway, living with young Yoo Jung and his father, he might have been thinking, you know, we're just a charity case. But by being his adopted brother, he's like, this is real now. I'm a part of this. I'm not a charity case. I'm not just living off you guys. I'm valued, you know, because a child who came from an abusive situation like the Baek siblings did, he may have always felt like I don't really have a home. And then to turn around and go from being elated that he could possibly be a part of this family to having the guy that he thought was the closest thing he had to a brother allow him to have his dreams shattered in such a brutal way because he didn't want to be his brother. I mean, it is the saddest thing ever. Like, even now thinking about it, I know I'm rambling, but it's because it's so painful. It's so painful. And then they have the fight. Baek In Ho tells Yoo Jung, you need to meet me at the park. I gotta talk to you. They get to the park. He's like, man, are you ready to square up? Let's do this thing. And they just start beating the shit out of each other. And it was so funny to me, kind of. I know it shouldn't have been funny, but I think it was funny to me that they beat each other up to the point that they were like exhausted and they're on the ground kicking each other because they're just like tired. But their fight was very different than the fight that Yoo Jung had with the panty stalker guy, the panty burglar. When he fought that guy, I mean, he was just like kicking him, punching him. The guy couldn't really fight back, and you know, Yoo Jung was just like a murderous machine. But the fight that he had with Baek In Ho, that was a really passionate, sloppy fight. You know, it wasn't just I'm gonna annihilate you and kick your ass. Like, they were fighting each other, and I think it's because Yoo Jung needed to have that fight. And I think it was a fight that they should have had, you know, years ago. Because that's the problem with building up these walls. You know, imagine the walls that Yoo Jung is building around him to keep people out. It's a circular wall. Like, it completely covers him. But the problem is, he's feeling the side of the wall that he's on with all this emotion. And so he's drowning on the other side of this wall that he's built to keep people from hurting him. So he's avoiding attacks from others, but at the same time, he's dying inside of the walls he's built. So, yeah, it was just heartbreaking to see. It was heartbreaking to see all around. It was heartbreaking to see Baek In Ho finally acknowledge, you know, how much he cares about Hong Sul, and also realize that she is not going to be giving up Yoo Jung for him anytime soon. So, yeah, I mean, it was a lot that, you know, was supposed to come out. Like, there was a lot of stuff that we've been waiting to see, that we needed to see, that came out in these episodes, and I was glad to get them. But then it just opened us up to so much more hurt and pain and other stuff that you really want to see resolved. Because I had a moment after the whole young goon thing wrapped up that I was thinking to myself, well, where's the story going to go from here? Because, I mean, yeah, I liked the romantic subplot, but I wasn't sure if I was prepared to have that be the whole thing. But I feel like now they've layered it to a point where, like, there's still way more story to tell here. And that's great because we have, what, 4 more episodes to go? But yeah, this show has just been an amazing experience to watch. It is now probably one of my favorite K-dramas of all time, if not my favorite. I still feel like Coffee Prince may be my favorite, but this is definitely a way more sophisticated show than Coffee Prince. Not just because, you know, of the fact that they're in college, whereas Coffee Prince, the girl from Coffee Prince, only had like a high school education. But I think it's more sophisticated because they deal with so many other things. A lot of Coffee Prince was centered around the whole gender identity, sexuality acknowledgement, that kind of stuff. But this show, I mean, it tackles homosexuality, mental health, stalking, relationships, just so class wars, all kinds of stuff is approached in this show, and in very subtle, specific, thoughtful ways. But yeah, this is already 20 minutes, and I was trying to shoot for 15, and I rambled myself out of the 15, so I apologize. Thank you again for watching. I always appreciate every view I get for these reviews. You don't understand how much I love the K-Drama Club, and it's only because I love talking to you guys. I love watching these shows. I love the community that we build together. So please, please continue to be a part of it, and I'll continue making these videos as long as you guys want. So I will talk to you guys on the next Cheese in the Trap review. Bye!